Okay, in this tutorial, we will talk about how to make animations. Really simple ones, of course. A simple cube translating on a plane. But before we can talk about animations, we need to talk a bit about frames per second, or how to make a movie. So for that, I will borrow a clip from YouTube. So this is just a little movie made individually by pieces of paper, but when you flip through them, you will see a movie. Hence, it's called a flipbook. So what's happening here is I'm going to press spacebar to stop the animation. If I select the cube, you can see that there's two yellow diamonds. These are called keyframes. What that means is at frame number 1, you can see that 1 over here, the cube is here. At frame 60, I want it to be over here. The computer will then, or Blender will then calculate the motion in between. Without changing any of the options, it's good enough for a simple animation. So let's learn how to do that. So let me delete all that. So open a new Blender file, take away the cube, the camera, and the light. And we're just gonna Shift A. In fact, you know what? Let me start a new one so it matches what you guys have. Okay, so this is after you delete the cube and the light and the camera, this is what you get. A blank, you go Shift A, add a mesh, and then a cube. I will also ask you to Shift A, add a plane. This will be the floor. Of course, press S to scale it out. And of course, I need to turn on my screencast keys so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and I will move the cube up. So select the cube, G, Z, and I'll pull it up, and I'll hold Shift so it's sort of touching the floor as close as possible. And then I will move this floor slightly out so it's got a bit more room for the cube to run on. And now at the bottom over here, I think you see probably something like this. At the bottom, if you just move your cursor to along the line, you get these double arrows, and you just drag and pull that up. This is called the timeline, I believe. Yep, so it's called the timeline, and this is where you sort of create that flipbook or tell Blender where things should be on certain frames. Over here on the right hand side of that, you see start and end. That's just how many frames the Blender will render when you're finished. Since we're making just a short animation, we'll just limit it to 60. Okay, and then enter. So you click the end, you enter the number, and then you press enter. So we're just gonna animate from frame 1 to frame 60. So if you think about it's sort of like having 60 pages, like the flipbook. And very simply on frame number 1, I'm going to select my cube, and here the shortcut is I. Once you press I, this menu is called Insert Keyframe Menu. There's location, rotation, scale, and all sorts of stuff in here. For now, we're just going to do location and rotation. That means in this frame number 1, we will record the location and the rotation of the cube. Now, if you move this over here and then move the keyframe, it'll jump back to original because that's the keyframe that you recorded at. So the key thing to remember is always move the keyframe first, or the frame number. Always move the frame number first to where you want it to be, and then enter the location and rotation. Okay, I moved it to frame 60, so now I'm on the 60th page of the flipbook, and I've selected my cube, and I'll press I again. Actually, no, that's not right. I need to move the cube first. I move it over here. This is where I want it. Insert, location, rotation. So now when you press spacebar is to play the timeline. This is what you get. So now if I go, say, over here to 30, frame 30, and I move it, let's say, on the x-axis somewhere over here, and then I insert location rotation. Now we'll make like a triangular movement, like that. There is a bit of interpolation where it tries to smooth out the turn, so it's not exactly like a zigzag. There's a way to fix that, but at this stage, I think we will just do that. If you really want to explore, it's actually called the graph editor. So if you put your cursor to the bottom right of your viewport, you get this crosshair. Click and drag, you get a new window. And from over here, the drop down menu, instead of, on the left of that, editor type, you can drop down and you can go into graph editor right here. Graph editor. This pretty much describes the motion in a graphical form. So if you expand the drop down, you can see the XYZ. This is going a bit more complex, but you will need that if you start doing rotations. Let's say at the 30th frame, we want to rotate the cube by that much, and we'll insert the location rotation again. Let's see what it does. So it rolls that way and it rolls back. That's because when we did the 60th frame, the location rotation wasn't changed when we captured it. So these are some of the things you can play with. Of course, if you want to get rid of this window, you go back to the bottom right, you drag right to replace, you drag left to create. See, I can keep going, dragging left, and I'll create more and more. But when you drag to the right, you will close those windows. Okay, so not only can you animate objects, cameras are also objects. So Shift A, add a camera. I will go top view, and I'll just move this out here, and I'll press 0, Shift tilde, and I'll just control where this camera goes. Remember WASD, Q and E to drop and raise the camera, and use a mouse wheel. If you scroll it up, you increase the speed. Scroll it down, it'll slow it down. Okay, so I'll set my camera right here. Okay, at frame 0 or frame 1, with my camera selected, which you can see the camera box being highlighted yellow. Press I, location rotation. This is where I want the camera to be at frame number 1. Over to frame 60, I want to move my camera to the other side. So again, my camera selected, Shift tilde, and I'll go pressing D to slide it to the right, and maybe somewhere here, and I'll just drop it slightly just to get a bit more effect. Left click to confirm, and then I, location rotation again. So now when I press spacebar, so my camera's animating while the object is animating. So with this, you can animate pretty much anything. So something for you guys to play with. Thank you.